Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab. Now let's begin. Freddie Hans stood in the doorway of his daughter's bedroom, watching Joy clutch her stuffed rabbit with white knuckles. At 7 years old, she was small for her age, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders and eyes that seemed too old for her face lately. "Please, Daddy," she whispered. "Please don't make me go." His wife, Christy, pushed past him into the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. "Joy, we've been through this. It's Grandpa Kent's 70th birthday. The whole family will be there. I don't want to." Joy's voice rose to a shriek. She threw herself at Freddie, wrapping her arms around his legs. "Daddy, please. I'll be good. I'll do anything." Freddie crouched down, meeting his daughter's terrified gaze. Something was wrong. Joy had always been shy, but this was different. For the past 3 months, she'd been having nightmares, wetting the bed, refusing to eat. And she'd become hysterical every time they mentioned visiting Christy's parents. "Christy, maybe we should—" "No." His wife's voice was sharp. "I'm not having this conversation again, Freddie. My mother has been planning this party for months." Joy is being dramatic. "She's 7. Look at her." Joy was trembling now, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want Grandpa to—" She stopped abruptly, her eyes darting to her mother. "To what, sweetheart?" Freddie kept his voice gentle. "Nothing," Joy whispered, going very still. Christy grabbed Joy's hand, pulling her away from Freddie. "That's enough. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Go wash your face." Freddie had been with Christy for 9 years, married for 8. They'd met at a community college where he was studying electrical engineering after his discharge from the Marines. She'd been beautiful, confident, from a well-connected family in the suburbs. Her father, Kent, owned 3 car dealerships, and her mother, Glenda, ran a boutique. Their world was garden parties and country club dinners, a far cry from Freddie's childhood in foster care. He'd worked 2 jobs to give them a good life. Now he ran his own electrical contracting business, employing 15 people. He'd built everything from nothing, and he'd done it for this family. But watching Joy now, something cold settled in his chest. "Christy, she's genuinely scared. We can miss one party." His wife spun on him, eyes blazing. "Family is family, Freddie. I don't care what ridiculous phase Joy is going through. My parents have been nothing but generous to us. Dad gave you the loan to start your business. The least we can do is show up for his birthday." The loan. She always came back to that. Freddie had paid back every cent with interest, but Christy wielded it like a weapon whenever he questioned her family. "I'm not asking you to skip it," Freddie said carefully. "I'm saying maybe Joy and I could stay home this time. You can tell your parents she's sick. And look like what kind of mother." Christy's perfectly made-up face twisted. "No, we're going as a family, and that's final." She dragged Joy toward the bathroom. Freddie heard his daughter sobbing behind the closed door, heard Christy's sharp voice telling her to stop being a baby. He pulled out his phone and texted his friend Omar Adams, who owned a security company. "Just checking in. Everything good with that install next week." Omar's response came quickly. "All set. You doing okay? You sound off." Freddie stared at the message, then deleted his reply without sending it. What'd he even say? His gut was screaming that something was wrong, but he had no proof. Just a terrified child and a wife who refused to listen. 30 minutes later, they were in the car. Joy sat in the back seat, silent now, staring out the window with hollow eyes. She'd changed into the pink dress Christy had laid out, her hair brushed and pulled back with a ribbon. She looked like a perfect little doll. Freddie glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Joy, if you need me, I'm just a phone call away. You have your phone, right?" Christy shot him a venomous look. "She's not taking her phone to a family party. That's ridiculous. She's 7. Kids have phones now. Not at my parents' house. They have rules about screens during family time." Christy held out her hand to the back seat. "Phone, Joy." With shaking fingers, Joy handed over the small flip phone Freddie had given her for emergencies. The Strickland house sat on 2 acres in an exclusive neighborhood, a sprawling colonial with white columns and a circular driveway already packed with cars. Freddie parked on the street, and they walked up the long drive. Kent Strickland opened the door himself, a tall man with silver hair and a broad smile that never reached his eyes. He'd been a college football player in his youth, still carried himself with that aggressive confidence. There's my favorite granddaughter. Joy went rigid. Freddie felt her small hand tighten around his. Come give Grandpa a hug, Kent said, arms spread wide. Joy didn't move. Freddie felt every muscle in her small body lock up. Christy laughed nervously. She's being shy today. Come on, Joy. That's okay, Kent said smoothly. She can come to me when she's ready. We've got all afternoon. His eyes met Freddie's, and something flickered there. Challenge. Amusement. Inside, the house was crowded with relatives. Glinda Strickland descended on them in a cloud of perfume, embracing Christy and air-kissing Freddie's cheek. So glad you could make it. Freddie, the men are out on the patio. Christy, I need your help in the kitchen. Joy clung to Freddie's hand like a lifeline. Can Joy stay with me? He asked. Glinda's smile tightened. Don't be silly. The children are playing in the basement rec room. Joy knows where it is. Actually, I'd rather she... Freddie. Christy's voice was a warning. Let her play with her cousins. Christy's brother Brian appeared, already drunk at 2 in the afternoon. Hey, little Joy, want to see the new pool table Grandpa got? Before Freddie could object, Brian had scooped Joy up despite her struggles. Come on, kiddo. Brian, put her down, Freddie said sharply. Everyone went quiet. Glinda's expression turned icy. Is there a problem? Freddie felt the weight of 20 pairs of eyes on him. This family had never fully accepted him, the orphan kid who'd married up. Christy had begged him to try harder to fit in, to not make waves. No problem, he said finally. I just think Joy might be more comfortable. The children always play in the basement during parties, Glinda said firmly. It's tradition. They have more fun that way. Brian carried Joy toward the basement door. She looked back at Freddie, her eyes pleading. Then she was gone. The afternoon crawled by. Freddie nursed a beer on the patio, making small talk with Ken's business associates and relatives he barely knew. Every 15 minutes, he found an excuse to walk through the house, trying to get to the basement, but someone always intercepted him. Glinda needed him to move chairs. Ken wanted to show him the new car. Brian wanted to talk about a business opportunity. At 4:30, Freddie finally made it to the basement door. He could hear children's voices, games, laughter, but not Joy's voice. He descended the stairs. 6 kids were playing video games and air hockey. No Joy. Where's my daughter? He asked his nephew, a pudgy 10-year-old. I don't know. Haven't seen her. Freddie's heart rate spiked. He took the stairs 2 at a time, pushing through the crowd. Christy. She was in the dining room, arranging a cake with her mother. What? Where's Joy? In the basement with the other children. She's not there. Where is she? Christy exchanged a look with Glinda. She's probably in the bathroom. Stop panicking. Which bathroom? Freddie, you're embarrassing me. She's fine. He checked 3 bathrooms on the first floor. No Joy. The crowd was gathering in the living room for cake and presents. He pushed through, heading upstairs despite Glinda calling after him that the second floor was off limits during parties. For bedrooms upstairs, all empty. Then he heard it, a small, choked sound coming from the master bedroom at the end of the hall. Freddie threw open the door. Kent Strickland was sitting on the edge of the bed. Joy stood in front of him, her pink dress crumpled, her ribbon gone. Her face was blank, dissociated, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Kent looked up calmly. There you are. Joy wasn't feeling well, so I brought her somewhere quiet. Every instinct Freddie had developed in 6 years as a Marine combat engineer screamed danger. Kent's hand was on Joy's shoulder. Too familiar. Too possessive. Joy, come here, Freddie said quietly. She ran to him like her life depended on it, buried her face in his chest. She was shaking so hard her teeth were chattering. Freddie picked her up, cradling her against him. We're leaving. Now wait just a minute. Kent stood. Freddie didn't wait. He carried Joy downstairs, past the shocked guests, past Christy's protests. He buckled Joy into the car and drove. Daddy. Joy's voice was tiny. You're safe now, sweetheart. I've got you. My tummy hurts. We're going to the hospital. Okay. Don't tell Mommy. Please don't tell Mommy. That stopped him cold. Why not, baby? But Joy had closed her eyes, gone somewhere far away. Freddie drove to Mount Cedar Hospital, the one where his friend Lynette McDonald worked as a pediatric nurse. He'd rewired her house last year, and they'd stayed in touch. If anyone would help him, she would. He carried Joy through the ER entrance. The triage nurse took one look at his face and paged Lynette immediately. She appeared in scrubs, her expression shifting from friendly to professional concern in an instant. Freddie, what happened? I don't know. I need someone to examine her. And I need it documented. Everything. Lynette's eyes met his, understanding passing between them. Examination room 3. Come with me. 2 hours later, Freddie sat in a small consultation room, his hands clenched so tight his knuckles were white. Lynette had called in Dr. and Marshall, the hospital's expert in pediatric forensic examinations. Dr. Marshall was in her 50s, with kind eyes and an air of unshakable competence. She sat down across from him and folded her hands. Mr. Hahn, I need to be direct with you. Your daughter has been sexually abused. Based on the physical evidence and her statements to me, this has been ongoing for at least 3 months. She's given me a name. The room tilted. Freddie couldn't breathe. The name she gave was her grandfather, Kent Strickland. How bad? His voice didn't sound like his own. Bad enough that I'm required by law to contact Child Protective Services and the police, which I've already done. A detective is on the way. Freddie stood abruptly, needing to move, needing to hit something. She begged me. She begged me not to make her go. This is not your fault. I made her go anyway. My wife made her go. Dr. Marshall's expression shifted slightly. Mr. Hahn, during the examination, Joyce said something that concerns me. She said, Mommy knows. Mommy said I have to be nice to Grandpa. The words hit him like a physical blow. What? I can't confirm what your wife knew or didn't know. That's for the police to determine. But I needed to tell you what Joyce said. Lynette stepped into the room. Freddie, there's more. I need to show you something. She held up her phone. After you left the party, I got a call from someone I know who was there. Mandy O'Connell. She's Kent's neighbor, was invited to the birthday party. She saw you leave with Joy and got worried. She's been suspecting something for months. What did she see? Joy wasn't the first Freddie. Mandy saw Kent with another granddaughter 2 years ago. She reported it to Glenda Strickland. According to Mandy, Glenda told her to mind her own business and banned her from ever speaking to the family again. Mandy's been eating herself alive with guilt ever since. Freddie sank back into the chair. My wife's whole family knew. Mandy's willing to testify. She kept records, dates, everything she observed. She's terrified of the Stricklands. Kent threatened to sue her for slander, but she can't stay quiet anymore. A knock on the door. A detective entered, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Hahn? I'm Detective Deborah Marquez. I need to talk to you about your daughter. The next 3 hours were a blur of statements, questions, evidence collection. Joy was admitted to the hospital for observation, sleeping now in a private room with a guard posted outside. Freddie called his business partner Omar, told him to cancel everything for the next week. His phone buzzed constantly with calls from Christy. He didn't answer. Finally, at 10 p.m., Detective Marquez sat down with him again. We're moving forward with charges against Kent Strickland. Sexual assault of a minor, multiple counts. The forensic evidence is solid, and combined with Joy's statement and the witness testimony from Ms. O'Connell, we have a strong case. What about my wife? Marquez's expression was careful. That's more complicated. We need to determine what she knew and when. Failure to protect a child is a crime, but we have to prove knowledge and intent. My daughter told the doctor that my wife knew. That Christy told her to be nice to Grandpa. We'll be interviewing your wife tomorrow. In the meantime, I'd advise you to speak to a lawyer. Family law, specifically. Freddie looked through the window at Joy's sleeping form. So small in that hospital bed, hooked up to an 4, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. He'd failed her once. He wouldn't fail her again. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Christy. Where are you? You humiliated me. Bring Joy home right now. Not one word about their daughter's well-being. Just humiliation. Just orders. Freddie deleted the message and pulled up his contact list. He needed a lawyer. He needed information. And he needed to make sure Kent Strickland never saw daylight again. But most of all, he needed to understand how deep this rot went, and who else in that family had sacrificed his daughter on the altar of their respectability. By midnight, Freddie had retained Jeremy Cobb, one of the best family law attorneys in the state. Cobb was known for taking on high-profile cases and winning. He'd agreed to meet at the hospital at 6 a.m. Freddie dozed fitfully in the chair beside Joy's bed, jerking awake every time she stirred. At 3 a.m., she woke up crying. He held her, let her soak his shirt with tears, murmured reassurances until she fell back asleep. At 5:30, Lynette came in with coffee and a bagel. "You need to eat something." "I can't. Joy needs you strong." She sat down beside him. "Freddie, I need to tell you something else." I pulled Kent Strickland's visitor logs from the hospital system. Last year, a 5-year-old came into the ER with injuries consistent with sexual abuse. The grandmother brought her in, Glinda Strickland. She claimed the child had fallen. We were suspicious, but Glinda had a lawyer there within the hour, shut down our attempts to investigate. The family moved away 2 months later. Jesus Christ. How many? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I've contacted every nurse I know who's worked pediatric cases in the county for the last decade. Jeremy Cobb arrived exactly at 6 a.m., a tall black man in his 50s with silver at his temples and eyes that missed nothing. He listened to Freddie's account without interrupting, took notes, asked precise questions. "First priority is securing custody of Joy," Cobb said. "Your wife will likely try to bring her home. Claim this is all a misunderstanding. We need an emergency protective order. Can you get one? With Dr. Marshall's report and the detective's evidence?" "Yes. We'll go before a judge this morning. Second priority is filing for divorce and full custody. I don't want Christy anywhere near our daughter." "Understood. Now, I need to ask you something difficult. How much of your assets are joint?" Freddie ran the numbers in his head. "House is in both names. Business is mine. We have about $40,000 in joint savings. I've got another $30,000 in a separate account from before we married. The Stricklands are wealthy. They'll come at you with everything they have. We need to be strategic. I don't care about the money. You should, because the house, the savings, if we play this wrong, Christy could tie up everything in litigation while you're trying to protect your daughter. And the Stricklands will absolutely use their resources to drag this out." A thought occurred to Freddie. "The business loan from Kent. I paid it off last year, have all the documentation." "Good. Any other financial ties to them?" "No. I made sure to keep everything separate after that. Christy didn't like it, but I insisted." Cobb nodded approvingly. "Smart. Now, let's talk about what's going to happen. The police will arrest Kent Strickland today, probably within hours. He'll make bail. The Stricklands will circle the wagons, hire the best defense attorneys money can buy. They'll paint Joy as confused, you as vindictive, Dr. Marshall's exam as inconclusive. They'll find character witnesses to swear Kent is a pillar of the community. They'll lose. In court? Probably. The evidence is strong. But the real battle is going to be in your life, Freddie. They'll try to destroy you financially, professionally, personally. They'll make you radioactive. Every client you have, every friend, every business relationship, they'll poison it all if they can. Let them try. Cobb studied him. You were a Marine, weren't you? I can always tell. Combat engineer. 6 years. Then you understand strategy. Good, because we're going to need it. At 7 a.m., Detective Marquez called. We're executing the arrest warrant for Kent Strickland now. I wanted you to know. Freddie pictured it. Cops showing up at that pristine colonial house, walking Kent out in handcuffs in front of the neighbors. Good. There's something else. Marquez continued. We interviewed Mandy O'Connell last night. She's provided us with names of 3 other granddaughters who exhibited signs of abuse around Kent Strickland. We're reaching out to those families today. 3 others, at least. And your wife. We have an appointment with her and her attorney at 9 a.m. At 8:30, Christy arrived at the hospital with her lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Alexandria Fry, who looked like she billed $800 an hour. They were stopped at Joy's door by hospital security and Detective Marquez. Freddie stepped out to meet them. Christy looked exhausted, her makeup smeared, still wearing yesterday's cocktail dress. Freddie, what the hell is going on? The police arrested my father this morning. They're saying, she choked on the words. It's not true. It can't be true. It's true. No. Joy is confused. She's been acting out lately, making up stories. Stop. Freddie's voice was cold. Dr. Marshall found physical evidence. Joy told her everything, and she told the doctor that you knew. Christy's face went white. I didn't, that's not. She's lying. A 7-year-old child doesn't lie about this. She does. She's been lying about everything lately, trying to get attention because you work too much. Christy's voice rose hysterically. My father would never. He's a good man. You're destroying my family over a child's imagination. Detective Marquez stepped forward. Mrs. Hahn, we need to talk. Downtown. Now. I'm not going anywhere without speaking to my daughter. That's not going to happen, Freddie said. Not now, not ever. Alexandria Fry interjected smoothly. Mr. Hahn, you can't deny a mother access to her child. Watch me. Freddie handed her a document. Emergency protective order, signed by Judge Rodney Graves 1 hour ago. Christy is barred from all contact with Joy pending investigation. Christy snatched the paper, read it, and her face crumpled. You bastard. You're using this misunderstanding to steal my daughter. There's no misunderstanding. Joy was raped. Repeatedly. By your father. And according to her statement, you knew and did nothing. That's a lot. Then why did she beg us not to make her go? Why has she been having nightmares for 3 months? Why did she say mommy knows? Christy's lawyer grabbed her arm. Don't say another word. We're leaving. As they walked away, Christy turned back. You'll regret this, Freddie. My family will bury you. You're nothing without us. You've always been nothing. And there it was. The truth she'd always believed, finally spoken aloud. Jeremy Cobb appeared at Freddie's shoulder. She's going to be a problem. I know. The police might not be able to charge her. If she was willfully blind but didn't actively participate, it's a gray area. Then I'll handle her myself. Legally, Freddie. We handle her legally. Freddie didn't respond. He was thinking about patterns, about infrastructure, about how foundations crumble when you remove the right supports. He'd spent years building things. He knew exactly how to take them apart. Over the next week, the case exploded across local news. Kent Strickland, prominent businessman, community leader, philanthropist, arrested on multiple counts of child sexual abuse. The Strickland family's PR machine went into overdrive, painting Kent as a victim of false accusations, Joy as a troubled child, Freddie as a gold digger trying to extort the family. But then Mandy O'Connell went public. She gave an interview to the local news, described what she'd seen 2 years ago, how the Stricklands had threatened and silenced her. Within 24 hours, 2 other families came forward. Both had daughters who'd been abused by Kent. Both had been paid off by Glenda Strickland to keep quiet. The public tide turned. Freddie's phone rang constantly. Half his clients were calling to express support and assure him they'd stick with him. The other half were canceling contracts, mumbling about bad publicity and not wanting to be involved. He recognized the pattern. The clients canceling were all people with ties to the Strickland family or their business network. Kent's revenge, orchestrated from jail through Glenda and Brian. Fine. Freddie had built his business once. He'd build it again. But first, he had other priorities. He sat in his lawyer's office with a folder of documents he'd been compiling. Bank records, property deeds, business filings. He'd spent 6 years married into the Strickland family, and while they dismissed him as beneath them, he'd been paying attention. Jeremy, tell me about civil RICO cases. Cobb raised an eyebrow. Racketeering? That's federal, highly complex, hard to prove. But possible? If you can demonstrate a pattern of illegal activity conducted through an organization. What? Freddie opened the folder. Kent Strickland doesn't just own 3 car dealerships. He has silent partnerships in 6 others across 3 states. Glenda's boutique is actually a chain of 12 stores, all structured through shell companies. Brian runs an investment firm that's really a front for moving money between the various Strickland businesses. How do you know this? Because for 6 years, I was the guy they called to do electrical work, security systems, renovations. I was beneath their notice, so they talked freely around me. I installed the wiring in Brian's office, saw every document on his desk. I upgraded Kent's home office system, had access to his computer network. I paid attention. Cobb leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting? The two families who were paid off by Glenda to keep quiet about Kent's abuse. Both payments came from shell company accounts tied to the car dealerships. That's using business assets to cover up crimes. The Stricklands have been systematically suppressing evidence of Kent's abuse for years, using their business network to intimidate witnesses and pay for silence. That's conspiracy. That's obstruction of justice. And it's all documented. You kept records? Every electrical job I did, I kept copies of the work orders, the locations, the dates. I have photos of every system I installed, including their home networks. I know where every camera is, every server, every backup drive. Cobb sat back, a slow smile spreading across his face. You sneaky son of a bitch. They thought I was just the help. They forgot I was a combat engineer. My entire job in the Marines was understanding infrastructure, how things are built, where the weak points are, how to breach systems. This could work, but it would mean going after the entire family, not just Kent. Good, because they're all complicit. Glenda paid off families to protect her child molester husband. Brian helped move the money. And Christy, Freddie's voice went cold. Christy fed our daughter to that monster to keep her place in the family. Speaking of Christy, Detective Marquez called me this morning. They're not filing charges against her. Insufficient evidence of direct knowledge. Freddie had expected that. Doesn't matter. I have something better. He pulled out another file. Christy has been having an affair with her father's business partner, Steve Watts, for the past year and a half. I have hotel receipts, text messages, emails. I also have proof that she's been funneling joint marital assets into a secret account, planning to leave me and take Joy. The only reason she hasn't pulled the trigger yet is that she was waiting for my business to grow more valuable, so she'd get a bigger divorce settlement. How did you? When Joy started acting traumatized 3 months ago, I knew something was wrong. I started investigating everything. I installed monitoring software on the home computer Christy uses. Legal, since it's a shared device in our home. I found everything. Cobb whistled. You've been planning this. I've been preparing. There's a difference. I didn't know what I'd find, but I knew my daughter needed protection. Turns out, she needed protection from her entire maternal family. All right, here's what we do. We use the affair and the financial misconduct to destroy Christie's custody case. The RICO evidence, we turn over to the FBI. Let them investigate the Strickland's business practices. Even if the criminal case against Kent somehow falls apart, the federal investigation will tear their empire to pieces. And Kent, the criminal case is solid. He's going to prison, Freddie. The question is for how long? Not long enough, Freddie said quietly. It'll never be long enough for what he did to my daughter. That evening, Freddie sat with Joy in her hospital room. She was being discharged tomorrow, and he'd rented a furnished apartment across town, far from their old house, far from the Stricklands. A fresh start. Daddy. Joy's voice was small. Is Grandpa going to come get me? No, baby. Grandpa is in jail. He can't hurt you anymore. What about Mommy? Freddie chose his words carefully. Mommy made some bad choices. She didn't protect you like she should have. So you're going to live with me, and Mommy won't be around for a while. Good. Joy's voice was fierce, so unlike her usual timid tone. I don't want to see her. She's a liar. What do you mean? She told me if I didn't be nice to Grandpa, you'd leave us. She said you'd stop loving me. She said it was my job to keep the family together. Freddie felt something break inside his chest. He pulled Joy close, buried his face in her hair. Listen to me, sweetheart. Nothing you could ever do would make me stop loving you. Nothing. What Grandpa did wasn't your fault. What Mommy did wasn't your fault. You're a child. It's the grown-up's job to protect you, and we failed. But I promise you, I will never fail you again. Joy clung to him. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. More than anything in this world. The next morning, Freddie moved them into the apartment. It was small, just 2 bedrooms, but it was safe. He'd had Omar's company install a state-of-the-art security system. No one was getting to Joy. He enrolled her in a new school, set up therapy appointments with a trauma specialist, arranged for a service dog trained to help children with PTSD. He cut his work schedule to part-time, hiring his foreman Marla Munoz to handle day-to-day operations. His daughter came first. Everything else was secondary. 2 weeks later, Jeremy Cobb called with news. The FBI is interested. They're opening an investigation into the Strickland business network. How long until charges? Could be months. Federal investigations move slowly. But I got a sense from the agent I spoke to, they're very interested. Apparently, the Stricklands have been on their radar for years regarding possible tax fraud. Your information is giving them a new angle. Good. Also, Kent's arraignment is scheduled for next month. The DA is pushing for no bail given the severity of the charges and the fact that more victims keep coming forward. We're up to 7 now. 7 children. 7 families destroyed by one monster and the people who protected him. There's one more thing, Cobb said. Christie's lawyer reached out. She wants to negotiate. No, hear me out. She's offering to give you full custody, to walk away from any financial claims, to testify against her father if necessary. In exchange, she wants you to not pursue the civil case against her for Joy's medical expenses and trauma. Tell her to go to hell. Freddie, think about this. Full custody, no contest, is worth. I don't care. She doesn't get to trade away her guilt. I want her to face consequences. There was a pause. All right, but I need to tell you something. If we reject this offer and go to trial, it's going to be ugly. Christie's lawyer will try to paint you as controlling, abusive, manipulative. They'll say you poisoned Joy against her own mother. Let them try. I have the truth. The truth doesn't always win in court. Then I'll make sure it wins outside of court. What Freddie didn't tell his lawyer was that he'd already started. He'd quietly reached out to every business associate of the Stricklands, every client, every partner. Not to badmouth them. That would be obvious. Instead, he simply made himself available. If you need electrical work done, I'm running a special this month. I heard you're looking for a new security system. Let me give you a quote. Your office renovation? I can handle that. One by one, he was pulling the Strickland's business relationships into his own network. Every client he gained was one they lost. Every project he completed was a demonstration that he was reliable, professional, trustworthy, everything they weren't. And when people asked about the situation, because of course they asked, he kept his answers brief and factual. My daughter was assaulted. The evidence is clear. I'm focused on her recovery. No drama. No emotion. Just facts. It was more damaging than any tirade could be. Within a month, Kent's car dealerships were struggling. Customers were going elsewhere. Sales staff were quitting. The Strickland name, once golden in their community, had become toxic. Glinda tried to counter by throwing a charity fundraiser, a desperate attempt to rehabilitate the family image. She donated $10,000 to a children's hospital, invited everyone who mattered. Freddie made a single phone call to Lynette McDonald. 2 days before Glinda's event, the hospital publicly declined the donation and released a statement. After careful consideration, we cannot in good conscience accept funds from a family currently under investigation for enabling child abuse. The fundraiser was canceled. Half the invited guests had already backed out anyway. Brian Strickland tried a different approach. He showed up at Freddie's office one afternoon, looking haggard. "We need to talk," Brian said. Freddie let him in, but didn't offer him a seat. "Look," Brian began, "I know things are bad, but this has gotten out of hand. You're destroying my family. Your father destroyed my family when he raped my daughter. He's sick. He needs help, not prison. He's getting prison, and then maybe he'll get help. In that order." Brian's face twisted. "You sanctimonious prick. You think you're better than us? You were nothing when Christy met you. Living in a shitty apartment, drowning in student loans. We gave you everything. You gave me a loan I paid back with interest. Everything else I built myself. And now you're tearing us down out of spite." "No," Freddie said calmly. "I'm tearing you down because you're built on a foundation of covering up child abuse. Your father is a monster. Your mother enabled him. Christy sacrificed our daughter to maintain the family image. And you," he stepped closer, "you moved the money they used to pay off the other families. You knew what it was for. Don't pretend you didn't." Brian's face went pale. "I didn't, that was, get out of my office. And if you come near me or my daughter again, I'll make sure the FBI knows exactly how deep your involvement goes." After Brian left, Freddie sat at his desk and pulled up the file he'd been building. A complete map of the Strickland family's business empire, with every transaction, every shell company, every questionable deal highlighted and cross-referenced. He'd given copies to the FBI, to the DA, to 3 different investigative journalists. The walls were closing in on the Stricklands, and Freddie was the one building them. 6 weeks after Joy's hospitalization, Kent Strickland's trial began. The prosecution had 12 witnesses, including Joy, Dr. Marshall, Mandy O'Connell, and 4 other victims who'd come forward. The defense tried every tactic, attacking the victim's credibility, suggesting the evidence was contaminated, painting Kent as a loving grandfather who'd been misunderstood. The jury took 4 hours to convict him on all counts. Sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. The prosecutor was asking for 40 years. Freddie sat in the courtroom gallery, Joy beside him. The judge had allowed her to attend if she wanted to, and she'd insisted. "I want to see him go away," she'd said. Kent Strickland stood before the judge, his expensive suit unable to hide the way he'd aged in the past 2 months. He'd lost weight, lost hair, lost the confidence that had always surrounded him like armor. The judge, a stern woman named Jody Johnson, looked at him with undisguised contempt. "Mr. Strickland, I've been on the bench for 23 years. I've seen a lot of terrible crimes. But what you did, the systematic abuse of your own granddaughters, the betrayal of trust, the damage you've inflicted on these children, it's among the worst I've encountered." She paused, letting the words sink in. "The prosecution has asked for 40 years. I'm sentencing you to 50. Consecutive, not concurrent. You will likely die in prison. And frankly, that's more mercy than you showed your victims." Kent's lawyer objected, started talking about appeals. The judge shut him down. "Take him away." As the bailiffs led Kent out in chains, he looked directly at Freddie. There was no remorse in his eyes. Just rage. Good, Freddie thought. Let him rage. Let him spend the rest of his life raging in a 6x8 cell. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Freddie had prepared a brief statement. Joy stood beside him, holding his hand. "Today, justice was served. My daughter and the other victims can begin to heal. But this isn't over. The people who enabled Kent Strickland, who covered up his crimes, who prioritized family reputation over children's safety, they need to be held accountable too. We're pursuing civil cases against everyone who knew and did nothing. We're cooperating fully with the FBI's investigation into the Strickland business practices. And we're setting up a foundation to support other victims of family sexual abuse." He didn't take questions. He simply walked away with joy, leaving the reporters to shout after him. 3 months later, the FBI arrested Glenda and Brian Strickland on charges of obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and RICO violations. The evidence Freddie had provided, combined with what federal investigators uncovered, painted a picture of a family that had been using their business empire to cover up crimes for over a decade. Glenda tried to flip on Brian. Brian tried to flip on Glenda. Both tried to claim they were victims of Kent's manipulation. Neither succeeded. They were both convicted and sentenced to 10 years each. Christie avoided criminal charges, but the divorce proceedings destroyed her. Jeremy Cobb had built an ironclad case using the affair, the secret bank accounts, and most damningly, testimony from Joy's therapist about the psychological damage Christie had inflicted by forcing Joy to spend time with Kent despite obvious signs of trauma. Christie lost custody completely. She lost half of the marital assets to Freddie, despite her family's lawyers fighting tooth and nail. She lost her reputation, her social circle, her family's support system as it all crumbled around her. The last Freddie heard, she'd moved to another state, living under her maiden name, working a retail job. She tried to visit Joy once, shown up at the school, but Joy had refused to see her. The therapist agreed it wasn't in Joy's best interest to force contact. Freddie was fine with that. Christie had made her choices. Now she lived with the consequences. 1 year after that terrible birthday party, Freddie and Joy stood in the lobby of a newly renovated building in downtown. The sign above the door read, "Joy's Life Foundation, supporting survivors of family sexual abuse." They'd funded it with the settlement money from the civil case against the Stricklands, with donations from the community, and with Freddie's own contributions. It offered free therapy, legal assistance, emergency shelter, and advocacy for children and families dealing with abuse. Mandy O'Connell had agreed to serve as the executive director. I couldn't save those other children, she told Freddie, but maybe I can save the next ones. Joy cut the ribbon with oversized scissors, a huge smile on her face. She was 8 now, still in therapy, still healing, but stronger every day. She'd recently joined a soccer team, made friends at her new school, started laughing again. She'd never be the same. The trauma would always be part of her. But she was surviving. More than that, she was thriving. "Daddy," she said as they walked back to the car, "do you think Grandpa knows that we turned something bad into something good?" "Probably," Freddie said, "and I hope it eats him alive." Joy considered this. "Good. He should feel bad forever. He will, sweetheart. He will." That evening, Freddie sat on the porch of their new house, a modest 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood, bought entirely with his own money. Omar Adams was there, along with Marla Munoz and a few other friends from the business. They were celebrating the foundation's opening with beer and burgers. "You did good, man," Omar said, clinking his bottle against Freddie's. "You took a nightmare and turned it into something meaningful." "I'm not done yet," Freddie replied. "What do you mean?" Freddie looked out at the street, at the neighborhood kids riding bikes in the fading sunlight, at Joy playing catch with Omar's daughter in the front yard. There are more kids out there. More families covering up abuse to protect their reputations. More children being sacrificed. The foundation is just the beginning. I'm going to find them, expose them, make sure they face consequences. Marlon raised his bottle. "We're with you." "All the way," Omar agreed. Freddie smiled. He'd lost a wife, lost connections, lost the life he'd built. But he gained something more important, purpose, and the knowledge that when you strip away everything else, what matters is protecting the people who can't protect themselves. His daughter was safe. His daughter was healing. His daughter was loved. Everything else was just details. And Kent Strickland? He was in a maximum security prison 300 miles away, in a cell with a violent cellmate who'd heard all about what Kent had done. Prison justice was harsh for child molesters. Freddie didn't lose sleep over whatever Kent was experiencing behind those walls. In fact, he slept better than he had in years. Justice, he learned, wasn't just about courtrooms and verdicts. It was about dismantling the systems that protected monsters. It was about building something better from the ruins. It was about making damn sure the bad guys paid. And they had, in full. Freddie raised his beer to the sunset, to his daughter playing in the yard, to the future they were building together. "To new beginnings," he said. "To new beginnings," his friends echoed. Joy came running up the porch steps, her face flushed with happiness. "Daddy, watch me do a cartwheel." And Freddie watched and cheered and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there. Hello, and welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're grateful for each view and comment. Tell us, from which country or city are you watching today? We enjoy connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Beneath the Surface. Russell Morgan stood at the window of his Manhattan penthouse, watching rain streak down the glass while nursing a glass of bourbon. At 42, he had built Apex Security from nothing into one of the country's premier private security firms. The view overlooking Central Park represented everything he'd sacrificed for. The countless 16-hour days, the missed holidays, the deferred dreams of a family. His phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. "Girls are loving Myrtle Beach. Don't wait up all weekend." Russell stared at the message, his jaw tightening. 12 years of marriage had taught him to read between Vanessa's lines. The exclamation points, the deliberately casual tone, all calculated to discourage him from asking questions. "Bullshit," he muttered, downing the bourbon. Their marriage had been rocky for the past 2 years. The passion had cooled, conversations reduced to logistics and schedules. Russell had tried date nights, surprise gifts, even suggesting therapy. Vanessa had dismissed it all as unnecessary. "We're fine," she'd insist. Just busy. Russell's friend Derek Powell, head of digital forensics at Apex, had called him earlier that day. Man, I hate being the one to tell you this, but something's off. That tracker app you installed on Vanessa's phone for emergencies? It shows her at the Ocean View Lodge in Montauk, not Myrtle Beach. Russell had sat with this information all day, turning it over in his mind, remembering the hushed phone calls that ended when he entered rooms, the new lingerie he never saw her wear, the late nights at work events. His thoughts drifted to Vanessa's sister, Pamela Davis. Pamela had never liked him, always whispering in Vanessa's ear at family gatherings. When Russell entered a room, their conversations would halt, replaced with plastic smiles. Then there was his younger brother, Gabriel. 3 years Russell's junior, Gabriel had never quite found his footing in life. A series of failed ventures and relationships had left him dependent on Russell's generosity. Russell had secured him a position at Apex, against his better judgment. Gabriel had the Morgan looks, the same strong jaw and penetrating blue eyes, but none of Russell's drive or discipline. Russell's phone rang again. His operations director, reporting a security breach at a client Sacramento facility. After giving instructions, Russell made a decision. He opened his laptop and booked a flight to Montauk for early the next morning. Then he called his most trusted team member. "Lisa, I need a favor." Discreetly, Lisa Wilson had been with him since the beginning, a former intelligence operative who handled Apex's most sensitive cases. "What do you need, boss?" Her voice was calm, professional. "I need surveillance on my wife at Ocean View Lodge in Montauk. Audio if possible." There was a pause. "Consider done. I'll have equipment ready for your pickup in an hour." A knock at his door came precisely 60 minutes later. Lisa handed him an unmarked bag. 2 types of bugs, a directional microphone, and a tracker. "The access codes are in the envelope. Are you sure about this?" Russell nodded grimly. "Some things you need to hear for yourself." That night, Russell barely slept. He thought about the life he'd built, the trust he'd placed in Vanessa. By dawn, his decision was made. If his suspicions were confirmed, there would be no confrontations, no messy divorce, no public humiliation. Russell Morgan would simply cease to exist, at least to those who had betrayed him. And then, when the time was right, they would learn exactly what it meant to cross him. Chapter 2. The Revelation. The storm had intensified by the time Russell reached Montauk, rain hammering against his rental car. Ocean View Lodge sat perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic, waves crashing violently against the rocks below. Russell parked a quarter-mile away and approached on foot, the bag of surveillance equipment slung over his shoulder. Years of security work had taught him how to move unnoticed. He checked in under a false name, requested a room far from the beachside where Vanessa would likely be staying. In his room, Russell unpacked Lisa's equipment and checked his phone. Derek had texted him Vanessa's exact room number and a digital key. Sometimes having a security company had its advantages. "Room 412, Russell muttered, slipping the small audio bugs into his pocket. The hallway was deserted. Russell approached room 412, listening for any sounds within. Silence. He swiped the digital key, holding his breath as the lock clicked open. The room was empty, but showed clear signs of occupation. Vanessa's favorite perfume lingering in the air, her designer luggage open on the luggage rack. Russell worked quickly, placing bugs in strategic locations, one near the nightstand, another by the sitting area. He was about to leave when he noticed a folder on the desk. Opening it revealed printouts of his life insurance policy, a $5 million policy he'd taken out years ago with Vanessa as the beneficiary. Next to it lay another document, a draft amendment to his will that he'd never signed, increasing Vanessa's share of his estate. The amendment was dated 3 months ago, with his forged signature at the bottom. His blood ran cold. Russell photographed everything with his phone, replaced the documents exactly as he'd found them, and slipped out. Back in his room, he connected the receiver to Lisa's bugs and waited. It was nearly 6 hours later when his patience was rewarded. The door to room 412 opened, multiple voices filtering through his headphones. "God, I needed this weekend." Vanessa's voice, slightly slurred. "You've earned it, dealing with Russell's moods all year." That was Pamela. Russell's grip tightened on his bourbon as he listened to them discuss their weekend plans. Then he heard it, the scrape of a balcony door opening, followed by Vanessa's voice growing fainter as she stepped outside. I packed his favorite champagne. Too bad the workaholic couldn't tear himself away from the office. A male voice, not immediately recognizable. Russell adjusted the receiver's volume, feeling sick as he heard Vanessa laugh. "Let me grab my phone and take a picture of this view," Pamela said. A few moments passed, and then Russell heard the conversation that would change everything. "After driving 10 hours through stormy weather to surprise my wife at her girls' beach weekend," the male voice mocked, "I walked in with her favorite champagne and heard her say, if he disappeared, that insurance policy would set me up for life." Laughter. Then Vanessa's voice. "That's not exactly what I said. I said that when Russell drops dead from working himself to the ground, at least I'll be comfortable." "Same difference," Pamela replied. "Honestly, sis, you've put up with his controlling ways for too long. Remember how he insisted on those tracking apps for safety? Well, good thing we know how to work around those," Vanessa said smugly. "The proxy server Derek helped me set up works perfectly." Derek? Russell felt like he'd been punched. His friend and employee was helping Vanessa deceive him. "I still think you should just divorce him," said Pamela. "Take half now and be done. And give up half of everything instead of all of it later. Besides, divorce is messy. This way is cleaner. And then you could finally date his brother guilt-free." Pamela laughed. Russell felt the room spin. "Gabriel? His own brother?" "Gabe's been after me for years," Vanessa confirmed, her voice dropping lower. "He's got all of Russell's looks, but none of his intensity. Plus, the chemistry is off the charts." "Is he here this weekend?" Pamela asked. "No, too obvious. He's covering for me at the charity gala tomorrow. Russell thinks I'm flying back for it. Gabriel will make my excuses." Russell sat motionless as the conversation shifted to dinner plans. His mind processed everything methodically, like assessing a security threat. His wife was having an affair with his brother. His friend was helping them deceive him. And they were discussing his death as a financial windfall. In that moment, Russell Morgan made a decision. He would disappear, not in the way they wanted, with a convenient accident and a tidy insurance payout, but on his terms. And when he returned, they would all pay for their betrayal. He packed his equipment, erasing all traces of his presence. On his way out, he left the bottle of Dom Perignon he'd brought, Vanessa's favorite, outside room 412 with no note. By morning, he was on a flight to Argentina, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States and where Apex had recently established operations. A perfect place to vanish and to plan his revenge. Chapter 3. Rebirth in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires embraced Russell with its chaotic energy and faded elegance. He had chosen the city carefully. Apex's South American headquarters provided resources, and the sprawling metropolis offered anonymity. Russell checked into a modest apartment in Palermo under the name Richard Miller, an identity he had prepared years ago for contingencies. The apartment was secure but unremarkable, perfect for a man who needed to disappear. On his third day, Russell contacted Mateo Suarez, Apex's regional director. Mateo was Russell's most trusted international operative, a former Argentine intelligence officer who owed Russell his life after a botched mission in Venezuela. They met in a quiet cafe in San Telmo. Mateo arrived precisely on time, his observant eyes scanning the room before approaching Russell's corner table. "I expected to see you at the regional conference next month," Mateo said, sitting down. "Not like this. Plans change," Russell replied. "What I'm about to tell you stays between us." Mateo nodded, his expression serious. Over the next hour, Russell outlined what had happened and what he needed: secure communications, financial resources off the grid, and complete secrecy about his presence in Argentina. "You saved my life in Caracas," Mateo said finally. "Whatever you need. I need to be presumed missing, possibly dead. No one at Apex can know I'm here, especially Derek Powell." "Derek? Your digital security chief. He's compromised. Working with my wife." Mateo's eyes hardened. "I understand. What's your plan?" "First, I need information. Everything happening at home. Company operations, my wife's activities, my brother's movements. I need to know who's loyal, who's involved in this conspiracy. And then, Russell's expression turned cold. Then I dismantled their lives piece by piece. Over the next 2 weeks, Russell established his new routine. Mornings spent at a local gym rebuilding his physique, afternoons planning with Mateo, evenings learning Spanish and studying law, both Argentine and American. He grew a short beard and dyed his hair darker, adopting the local fashion to further disguise himself. Mateo brought daily reports. Vanessa had reported Russell missing after he failed to return from what she claimed was a business trip. Derek Powell had been appointed interim CEO of Apex. Gabriel was publicly devastated, leading the search efforts, and privately consoling Vanessa. Russell tracked financial movements. Vanessa attempting to access his accounts. Gabriel promoting allies within Apex. Derek securing the company's systems, presumably to hide evidence of his involvement. On the 14th day, Mateo arrived with a troubled expression. Your brother called the Argentine authorities today, he reported. He's flying here tomorrow to search for you in our Buenos Aires office. He suspects I'm here. I don't think so. He's visiting all international offices. For show, most likely. Russell nodded slowly. Perfect timing. It's time we accelerate the plan. That evening, Russell used a secure line to call Gabriel's personal cell, a number not associated with his disappearance. It took 3 rings before his brother answered. Hello. Gabriel's voice was cautious. Hello, Gabriel. Russell kept his voice even. The silence stretched for several seconds before Gabriel's breath caught audibly. Russell, his voice cracked. Oh my God, Russell. Is that you? Where are you? Everyone's been. Save it. Russell cut him off. I heard everything at the Ocean View Lodge. Everything, Gabriel. Another silence, longer this time. When Gabriel spoke again, his voice was trembling. Russ, I can explain. No need. I saw the insurance policy printouts. I heard Vanessa and Pamela discussing my convenient disappearance. I know about you and Vanessa. It's not. Gabriel began, then stopped. We thought you were dead, he whispered. Disappointed? Russell asked coldly. Gabriel began to cry. Please, Russ. Come home. We can fix this. Fix what exactly? My marriage to a woman plotting my death? My relationship with a brother who betrayed me? My company in the hands of people I can't trust? The police are investigating your disappearance, Gabriel said desperately. Vanessa is beside herself. I'm sure she is, Russell interrupted. Wondering where the body is. How long until she can claim the insurance? What do you want? Gabriel asked finally. I want you to know that I'm watching. Everything you do, everything Vanessa does, every move Derek makes at my company. And when the time is right, you'll all understand exactly what you've done. Are you threatening us? Gabriel's voice hardened slightly. I'm promising you consequences, Russell replied. But first, I have a question. Was it your idea or hers? The long pause told Russell everything. Hers, Gabriel finally admitted. But I went along with it. I've always been in your shadow, Russ. Always the screw-up, always the disappointment. And she was so unhappy. Spare me, Russell said. You have one chance, Gabriel. One chance to prove you're not completely worthless. Come to Buenos Aires tomorrow as planned. Come alone to the Plaza San Martin at noon. If anyone else knows about this call or meeting, I'll vanish permanently. I'll be there, Gabriel promised quickly. Russell, I'm so sorry. Russell hung up, staring out at the Buenos Aires skyline. Phase 1 of his plan was in motion. Gabriel had always been weak, easily manipulated. He would be the perfect, unwitting accomplice in what was to come. His phone buzzed with a message from Mateo. Confirmed. Why file for access to accounts today? Powell leading private investigation alongside police. Russell smiled grimly. Let them search. By the time they realized what was happening, it would be far too late. Chapter 4. Pawns and Players. The Plaza San Martin hummed with activity. Business people hurrying through their lunch breaks. Tourists snapping photos of the monument. Street vendors hawking their wares. Russell observed it all from a cafe across the street. Baseball cap pulled low, sunglasses hiding his eyes. Mateo sat at a table near the plaza entrance, positioned to intercept Gabriel if he wasn't alone. Russell's burner phone vibrated. Subject arrived. Alone as instructed. Appears nervous. Russell watched his brother enter the plaza. Gabriel looked haggard, with dark circles under his eyes and wrinkled clothes that suggested a hasty packing job. He paced anxiously near the central monument, checking his watch repeatedly. Russell waited 30 minutes, letting Gabriel sweat. Then he sent a text. Northeast corner. Blue door. Knocked twice. From his vantage point, Russell watched Gabriel practically run to the location. A small, unmarked door leading to a private club Mateo had arranged. Gabriel knocked twice, was admitted, and disappeared inside. Russell finished his coffee, paid, and walked unhurriedly to a different entrance of the same building. Inside, Gabriel waited in a sparsely furnished room, jumping to his feet when Russell entered. "Russ," he began, moving forward as if to embrace his brother. Russell held up a hand, stopping him cold. "Sit down." Gabriel sank back into his chair, his expression a mixture of relief and fear. "Everyone thinks you're dead." "Not everyone," Russell corrected him. "You don't. Vanessa doesn't either, does she?" Gabriel looked away. "She's terrified. Not knowing is worse than confirming I'm dead, so she can collect the insurance." Russell finished. "Tell me about the policy, Gabriel. When did she first bring it up?" Gabriel swallowed hard. "About 8 months ago. She was joking at first, or I thought she was. Said you worked so hard you'd probably have a heart attack and leave her a wealthy widow." "And when did the jokes become a plan?" "I don't know exactly," Gabriel said, his voice barely audible. "It just evolved. She was unhappy. Said you were cold, distant, that the marriage was dead already. And you comforted her," Russell said flatly. Gabriel's face flushed. "It wasn't like that at first. She would cry, talk about how lonely she was. I was just being a good brother-in-law." "A good brother-in-law," Russell repeated. "Is that what you call sleeping with your brother's wife?" "That only happened 3 months ago," Gabriel protested weakly. "After she said your marriage was over in all but name." "And Derek? How'd he get involved?" "Derek owes me money," Gabriel admitted. "Big gambling debts. I helped him cover it with company funds, off the books. When Vanessa needed technical help managing her whereabouts, I brought him in." Russell absorbed this information, each revelation another knife in his back. "Here's what happens now. You're going to help me, Gabriel. Not because you want to make amends, but because the alternative will destroy you. What do you want me to do?" "You'll return home and report that your search was unsuccessful. You'll tell no one about seeing me. You'll continue your relationship with Vanessa." "What?" Gabriel looked stunned. "You'll continue as before," Russell repeated coldly. "But you'll report everything to me. Every conversation, every plan, every move she and Derek make. You'll be my eyes and ears." "She'll notice something's different," Gabriel argued. "She's perceptive." "Not as perceptive as she thinks," Russell said. "You managed to hide your gambling problem from her, didn't you?" Gabriel looked startled. "How did you?" "I know everything about you, Gabriel. The underground poker games, the sports betting, the loans from people who don't give extensions. Did you think I wouldn't have security on my own brother? That was your first mistake. And if I refused to help you?" Gabriel asked, a hint of defiance creeping into his voice. Russell placed a thick folder on the table between them. "Then the FBI receives evidence of your embezzlement from Apex. The IRS gets documentation of your unreported gambling winnings. And Vanessa learns about your ongoing relationship with Meredith Collins." Gabriel's face paled. "Meredith?" "But that ended 2 weeks ago, when you called her from your hotel in Chicago and ended things because things were heating up with Vanessa." "Yes, I know about that too." Gabriel's shoulders slumped in defeat. "You've always been 3 steps ahead, haven't you?" "No," Russell corrected him. "I just prepare for betrayal. I didn't expect it from my own brother, but here we are." For the next hour, Russell outlined Gabriel's role in his plan. Gabriel would return with a renewed focus on the search for Russell, playing the devoted, grieving brother. He would encourage Vanessa's attempts to access Russell's finances. He would subtly redirect Derek's private investigation. And most importantly, he would report everything back to Russell through secure channels Mateo would establish. "What are you planning to do?" Gabriel asked as their meeting concluded. Russell smiled thinly. Justice, Gabriel. Nothing more or less than each of you deserves. After Gabriel left, Mateo entered the room. He'll betray you again, he warned. I'm counting on it, Russell replied. But not before he serves his purpose. That night, in his apartment, Russell updated his strategic plan. Phase 1, establishing his disappearance and securing Gabriel as an asset, was complete. Phase 2 would target the financial foundations of those who had betrayed him. And Phase 3 would bring everything crashing down around them. Russell pulled up the Apex security system on his tablet. Access Derek thought he had revoked, but that Russell had secretly preserved. He watched live footage of Vanessa entering his home office, searching desperately through his papers. Look all you want, he murmured. You won't find what you're looking for. The cornerstone of Russell's fortune wasn't Apex or the insurance policy Vanessa coveted. It was a set of cryptocurrency accounts and offshore holdings that no one knew about. His ultimate contingency plan, now his greatest weapon. Russell turned to his computer and began typing. By morning, the first financial dominoes would begin to fall. Chapter 5. The Spider's Web. 3 months into his self-imposed exile, Russell had transformed both physically and mentally. His body was leaner, harder from daily training with a former Olympic boxer Mateo had introduced him to. His Spanish was fluent enough to pass for a native in casual conversation. Most importantly, his plan was advancing perfectly. In his apartment, now a command center with multiple screens monitoring events back home, Russell reviewed the latest intelligence from Gabriel. Vanessa hired Phillips and Morrow to challenge the insurance company's refusal to pay without proof of death. Derek accessing old server archives, looking for something specific. Russell smiled coldly. The insurance company's reluctance was his doing. Anonymous tips suggesting foul play had made them wary of paying the claim. As for Derek's search, Russell knew exactly what he was looking for. Evidence of the offshore accounts Russell had mentioned once, years ago, during a drunken celebration of Apex's first major government contract. Those accounts existed, but not where Derek was looking. The real fortune was hidden behind layers of shell companies and digital wallets that only Russell could access. Russell's phone chimed, a secure messaging app showing a communication from Lisa Wilson. Confirmed. Powell meeting with Vanessa tomorrow at the Archer Hotel, not company offices. Private dining room reserved. Lisa had emerged as Russell's most loyal ally. After receiving a cryptic message from him 2 months after his disappearance, the Falcon hunts at midnight, their old code for extreme circumstances, she had understood he was alive and operating covertly. Since then, she had become his most valuable source inside Apex, feeding him information that even Gabriel couldn't access. Russell turned to his laptop and opened a secure connection to Apex's servers. Using credentials that Derek didn't know existed, he accessed the company's financial system. Time to advance to the next stage. Over the next 4 hours, Russell executed a series of transactions, subtle manipulations of Apex's accounting system that would initially go unnoticed, but would eventually raise serious questions about Derek's management. He transferred small amounts from operational accounts to client escrow accounts, adjusted timestamps on transactions, and planted digital breadcrumbs suggesting unauthorized access from Derek's home IP address. Next, Russell accessed Vanessa's personal email through a backdoor he'd installed years ago, ostensibly for emergency access, but perfect for his current needs. He spent an hour reading through her correspondence with Gabriel, with her sister Pamela, with their lawyer. One email exchange with Pamela caught his attention. I'm worried about Gabriel. He's been acting strange since Argentina. Jumpy, checking his phone constantly. Do you think he knows something? Pamela's reply. He's always been the weak link. If he becomes a problem, we may need to adjust the plan. Russell forwarded this exchange to Gabriel with a single question. Still think she loves you? At midnight, Russell initiated the most crucial phase of his financial strategy. Using anonymous access points and cryptocurrency exchanges, he began systematically dismantling Vanessa's hidden financial safety net. Accounts she thought he knew nothing about, including an inheritance from her grandmother that she'd concealed during their marriage. By dawn, Russell had transferred nearly $2 million from Vanessa's secret accounts to untraceable cryptocurrency wallets. She wouldn't notice immediately. The accounts were designed for long-term holding, but when she did, the blow would be devastating. Russell leaned back, rubbing his tired eyes. His phone buzzed with a message from Gabriel. She doesn't suspect anything. Meeting Derek tomorrow as planned. What should I do? Russell typed his response. Nothing. Watch and report. The next move is mine. The following day, Russell activated a small camera Lisa had placed in the private dining room at the Archer Hotel. The video quality was poor, but the audio came through clearly as Vanessa and Derek took their seats. The insurance company won't budge, Vanessa said, frustration evident in her voice. They're talking about 7 years before declaring him legally dead without a body. We have a bigger problem, Derek replied, his voice low. Someone's been in the system. What do you mean? The security logs show access to financial records, but the user credentials are masked. And I found irregularities in some of the accounting. Could it be the auditors? Vanessa asked. No, this is someone who knows our systems intimately. Someone with advanced access. A long pause. You don't think? Russell, I don't know, Derek admitted. It seems impossible, but find out, Vanessa snapped. If he's alive, if he knows what we planned, just find out. Russell smiled grimly. Let them chase shadows while he continued dismantling their world piece by piece. That evening, as part of his daily routine, Russell video called Mateo to discuss progress. Your wife accessed her grandmother's account today, Mateo reported. She knows the money is gone. Good, Russell nodded. And the other matter? In progress. Our investigator has located the witness you requested, the nurse who treated Gabriel after his accident last year. She confirms it wasn't a mugging as he claimed. He was beaten by men he owed money to. Perfect, Russell said. Make sure she's available to testify when needed. After ending the call, Russell opened his personal journal, a habit he'd maintained since childhood. He wrote, Day 97 of exile. The pieces are moving on the board exactly as planned. Gabriel is trapped between loyalty to me and fear of Vanessa. Derek is beginning to sense the noose tightening, but doesn't know from which direction the threat comes. And Vanessa is finally learning that her actions have consequences. Tomorrow begins the next phase. Not just financial pressure, but psychological warfare. By the time I return to claim what's mine, they will have destroyed each other. Russell closed the journal and walked to the window overlooking Buenos Aires. The city had become home in a strange way, a place of rebirth and reinvention. Part of him had found peace here, away from the betrayal and lies. But peace wasn't what he sought. Justice was, and justice required his return. Chapter 6, Fault Lines. The exclusive Boston restaurant hummed, with quiet conversation and the gentle clink of fine china. Vanessa Morgan sat across from her sister Pamela, picking at her salad without appetite. You look terrible, Pamela observed bluntly. When was the last time you slept? I don't know, Vanessa admitted. The nightmares keep getting worse. I'm in the house, alone, and I hear Russell's voice calling my name from every room, but I can't find him. It's guilt, Pamela said, lowering her voice. We never actually did anything to him, Van. He disappeared on his own. But we talked about it, Vanessa whispered. We wished for it. And now $2 million is missing from Grant's account. Derek says someone's been accessing Apex's systems, and Gabriel's acting like he's seen a ghost. Speaking of Gabriel, Pamela set down her fork. Have you noticed anything strange lately? Beyond the usual Gabriel strangeness. Vanessa hesitated. He's distant, cancels plans at the last minute, and sometimes I catch him staring at his phone with this look of absolute terror. You don't think he had anything to do with Russell's disappearance, do you? Gabriel. Vanessa laughed hollowly. He can barely organize his sock drawer, let alone a complex disappearance. Then what's he hiding? I don't know, Vanessa admitted, but I intend to find out. Meanwhile, across town, Gabriel Morgan sat in Derek Powell's office at Apex headquarters, both men looking haggard and tense. The board is asking questions I can't answer, Derek said, sliding a financial report across the desk. These discrepancies shouldn't be possible with our security protocols. Could it be a hacker? Gabriel suggested. knowing full well the source of the anomalies. Not just any hacker. Derek rubbed his bloodshot eyes. The system logs show access patterns that match Russell's exactly. The way he navigates between screens, the keyboard shortcuts he uses. It's like his digital fingerprint. Gabriel felt cold sweat forming on his back. That's impossible. Russell is missing, Derek interrupted sharply. Not confirmed dead. And I'm starting to think he's very much alive and systematically targeting us. Why would he target Apex? The company is his life's work. Not Apex, Derek clarified. Specifically, the financial irregularities all point to transactions I've authorized. Client complaints are being filed about projects I'm managing. It's surgical, Gabriel. Like someone's building a case against me specifically. Gabriel's phone buzzed in his pocket. Another message from Russell, no doubt. The fifth today, each one increasing the pressure, demanding more information, more betrayal. What about Vanessa? Gabriel asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Has she noticed anything unusual? Besides the missing millions from her grandmother's account? Derek raised an eyebrow. She's falling apart, Gabriel. Convinced Russell is haunting her somehow. That's ridiculous, Gabriel said automatically. Is it? Derek leaned forward. 3 separate times now. She's received emails that appear to come from Russell's account. But when she opens them, there's nothing there. Just blank messages with today's date. Gabriel felt sick. Russell hadn't mentioned this part of his plan. The security system at your house has been triggering alarms, Derek continued. Motion sensors activating in empty rooms. Cameras catching glimpses of what looks like a human figure. But when security responds, there's no one there. Technical glitches, Gabriel suggested weakly. Maybe, Derek conceded. But last week, Vanessa found Russell's wedding ring on her pillow. The same ring he never took off, that should have disappeared with him. Gabriel couldn't hide his shock. That's not possible. That's what I said, Derek agreed. Until she showed it to me. The inscription matches, Gabriel. It's his. Gabriel's phone buzzed again. He glanced down to see Russell's message. Tell Derek about Meredith Collins. Now, Gabriel took a deep breath. Derek, there's something you should know. Something about Meredith. Derek's expression changed instantly, hardening into something dangerous. What about my sister? She and we were involved. Until recently. Derek stood slowly, his hands flattening on the desk. You were sleeping with my sister? While pursuing Vanessa? While betraying your own brother? It wasn't like that, Gabriel protested. Meredith and Get out, Derek said quietly. Get out before I forget we're supposed to be on the same side. Gabriel fled the office, heart pounding. In the elevator, he frantically texted Russell. Why did you make me tell him that? He'll never trust me again. Russell's reply came immediately. Trust is a luxury none of you deserve. Meeting with Vanessa tonight. Record everything. That evening, in Vanessa and Russell's modernist mansion in Westchester, Gabriel sat across from Vanessa in the kitchen, watching her pour her 3rd glass of wine. I keep feeling like he's here, she said, glancing nervously around the room. Watching us. Judging us. He's not, Gabriel assured her, the recording app activated on his phone in his pocket. The security team swept the house again yesterday. No bugs, no cameras. Then how did his ring get on my pillow? Gabriel? How? Gabriel shook his head. I don't know. Maybe you put it there yourself. Subconsciously. Vanessa slammed her glass down. I'm not crazy. I didn't say you were, Gabriel soothed. But grief does strange things. Guilt, too. What do I have to feel guilty about? Vanessa demanded. He was cold, distant, married to his work. I was lonely, Gabriel. So lonely. I know, Gabriel said softly, reaching for her hand across the table. I know you were. Vanessa pulled her hand away. Derek thinks Russell is alive. That he's systematically targeting us. That's paranoid, Gabriel said, even as he silently agreed with Derek's assessment. Is it? Vanessa stood, pacing the kitchen. The missing money, the system's breaches, the emails, the security system, it all feels coordinated. And who else would have access to his ring? If he were alive, why wouldn't he just confront us? Gabriel argued. Russell was never one for elaborate schemes. Wasn't he? Vanessa laughed bitterly. The man built a security empire by outthinking everyone else. If he wanted to destroy us, he wouldn't just burst in with accusations. He'd dismantle our lives piece by piece. What are you saying? I'm saying we need to be prepared. Vanessa's eyes had a feverish gleam. If he is alive, if he does know everything, we need protection. What kind of protection? Vanessa lowered her voice. The permanent kind. Gabriel felt the blood drain from his face. You can't be serious. Dead serious, Vanessa replied. I've already spoken to someone. A connection through Pamela's ex-husband. If Russell is alive and coming for us, we need to find him first. This is insane, Gabriel protested. We're talking about my brother. The brother you betrayed by sleeping with his wife. Vanessa countered coldly. The brother whose company you helped undermine? That ship has sailed, Gabriel. We're in this together now. Gabriel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He knew without looking that it was Russell, perhaps even listening live to this conversation. I need some air, he said abruptly, standing. This is too much. Decide whose side you're on, Gabriel, Vanessa called after him as he headed for the door. If Russell is alive, there's no middle ground anymore. Outside in his car, Gabriel played the recording back, hands shaking. Then he forwarded it to Russell with a simple message. She's planning to kill you if you return. I never agreed to this. Russell's reply came minutes later. You never agreed to a lot of things, brother, but you did them anyway. Phase 3 begins tomorrow. Be ready. Gabriel stared at the message, wondering what fresh hell Phase 3 would bring. Whatever Russell was planning, it was clear that none of them, not Vanessa, not Derek, and certainly not Gabriel himself, would emerge unscathed. In Buenos Aires, Russell closed his laptop after listening to Gabriel's recording of Vanessa. His face showed no emotion, but inside a cold fury burned. She had moved from wishing him gone to actively planning his murder. Perfect, he murmured. Now he had everything he needed to spring the trap. Chapter 7. The Return. The private jet touched down at Teterboro Airport under the cover of a stormy October night, 6 months to the day since Russell Morgan had disappeared. He stood at the aircraft's window, watching rain lash the tarmac. His appearance notably changed. Leaner, harder, his once clean-shaven face now sporting a short, well-trimmed beard, his previously dark blonde hair now darker brown. Lisa Wilson waited in a black SUV on the tarmac, standing at attention despite the downpour. Welcome home, boss, she said as Russell approached, offering a rare smile. The pieces are in place. Any complications? Russell asked as they settled into the vehicle. None unexpected, Lisa replied, pulling away from the aircraft. The documentation is prepared as requested. Warrant applications are ready for submission, and the board meeting is scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow. Gabriel, increasingly unstable. He's been missing appointments, drinking heavily. Derek Powell has effectively frozen him out of company operations. And my wife? Russell asked, his voice betraying no emotion. Scheduled to meet with her specialist tonight. We have audio and video surveillance in place. The exchange should occur at approximately 11 p.m. Russell checked his watch. 3 hours. Enough time to prepare. Take me to the safe house. The safe house, a luxury penthouse in downtown Manhattan registered to one of Russell's shell companies, had been prepared according to his specifications. Multiple screens displayed live feeds. Apex headquarters, Russell's Westchester home, Derek Powell's apartment, Gabriel's townhouse, and various other locations. Russell showered and changed into a custom-tailored suit, armor for the battle ahead. When he emerged, Lisa was coordinating with a team via secure communications. Status reports? Russell asked. FBI team is on standby, awaiting your signal, Lisa confirmed. NYPD tactical unit positioned near the Morgan residence. SEC investigators ready to move on the financial evidence. Everything is green. Russell nodded, studying the surveillance feeds. On one screen, Vanessa paced the living room of their Westchester home. Phone pressed her ear, gesturing animatedly. On another, Derek Powell sat in his Apex office, surrounded by financial reports, looking haggard. A third showed Gabriel in his townhouse, a glass of whiskey in hand, staring blankly at nothing. They've unraveled precisely as expected, Russell observed. The psychological pressure was effective, Lisa agreed. Derek hasn't slept more than 4 hours a night in weeks. Gabriel's gambling has escalated. He lost $80,000 last weekend. And Vanessa? Lisa hesitated. Go on. She's been meeting with a man we've identified as Anton Korolov, a former Russian military contractor with ties to organized crime. Their conversations, while coded, clearly indicate an arrangement for eliminating someone. Me, Russell said calmly. Yes. The meeting tonight is to finalize payment and details. Russell checked his watch again. It's time. Initiate Operation Homecoming. Lisa nodded and began issuing commands through her secure line. Russell turned to the largest screen, which showed a comprehensive timeline of events since his disappearance. Financial transactions, communications, meetings, all meticulously documented and cross-referenced. 6 months of planning, Russell murmured, for one night of reckoning. At precisely 10:45 p.m., Russell entered the service elevator of his Westchester home, using a key card that bypassed the security system. The house was quiet, the storm outside muffling any ambient sounds. Russell moved silently through the familiar spaces, noting the changes Vanessa had made in his absence. His photographs removed, his office door now locked, his presence systematically erased. He positioned himself in the hidden observation room adjacent to his former study, a secure space Vanessa knew nothing about, designed during the house's construction for emergency situations. Through one-way glass, he would witness the meeting about to take place. At 10:58 p.m., the security system chimed, announcing a visitor. Russell watched on the internal monitor as Vanessa admitted Anton Korolov, a broad-shouldered man with cold eyes and a precise manner. You weren't followed? Vanessa asked immediately. I am professional, Korolov replied, his accent thick. No one follows. Vanessa led him to the study, directly into Russell's line of sight. She opened a wall safe, not the main one Russell had installed, but a secondary one she had added recently, and removed a thick envelope. Half now, half when it's done, she said, handing it to Korolov. As agreed, Korolov counted the money methodically. And target is in Buenos Aires, yes? According to our information, Vanessa confirmed. I've included his last known address and daily routine. He's using the name Richard Miller. Very good. And you understand, when this is done, no contact between us again. Of course, Vanessa nodded. How will I know when it's complete? You will see in news, Korolov said simply. American businessman, tragic accident in Argentina. Very sad. Russell's phone vibrated silently. A message from Lisa. FBI in position. Ready on your signal. Russell typed his response. Execute. Precisely 30 seconds later, the house's security system blared as FBI agents surrounded the property. Through the observation window, Russell watched Vanessa and Korolov freeze in panic. What is happening? Korolov demanded, reaching inside his jacket. FBI, don't move. The command blasted through the house's speaker system, Russell's remote activation of the security protocol. Russell stepped out of his hiding place as armed agents burst into the study, weapons trained on Vanessa and Korolov. Hello, Vanessa, Russell said calmly. Planning a trip to Argentina? Vanessa's face drained of color, her eyes widening in shock and horror. Russell? How, you're alive? Disappointed? He asked, echoing the question he'd posed to Gabriel months ago. Mr. Morgan, the FBI team leader nodded respectfully. As requested, we've secured the subjects and the evidence. Thank you, Agent Calloway, Russell replied. I believe you'll find the envelope contains $250,000 in cash, along with documents detailing my supposed location in Argentina. As Vanessa and Korolov were handcuffed and read their rights. Conspiracy to commit murder among the charges. Russell stood impassively, watching his wife's desperate attempts to catch his eye. Russell, please, she begged. This isn't what it looks like. I can explain everything. Save it for your attorney, Russell replied coldly. You'll need the practice. As Vanessa was led away, still pleading, Russell received another message from Lisa. Powell in custody. SEC and cybercrime units executing warrant at his residence now. Gabriel waiting as instructed. Phase 1 of the night's operations was complete. Russell nodded to Agent Calloway and left the house without a backward glance. The next confrontation awaited. Chapter 8. The Judgment. Apex Security's boardroom sat atop the company's midtown skyscraper, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of New York City at dawn. The empty chairs around the massive conference table awaited the emergency board meeting scheduled for 7 a.m., 2 hours earlier than originally planned, a last-minute change that had sent the company's director scrambling. Russell stood at the window, watching the city awaken, Lisa Wilson at his side reviewing final preparations on her tablet. The files have been distributed to all board members' secure emails, she confirmed. Financial documentation, surveillance records, sworn statements from the whistleblowers inside the company. Everything they need to understand what happened in your absence. And the press. Embargoed statements ready to go at your signal. All major financial and business publications, plus the television networks. The story is positioned exactly as you specified. Missing CEO returns to uncover conspiracy. Russell nodded, satisfied. Derek Powell's status? In federal custody. No bail hearing until tomorrow. The evidence of financial crimes was substantial. And my wife? Also in custody. The assassination plot charges are being processed. Her sister Pamela is being questioned as a person of interest. Russell checked his watch. It's time for the final piece. At precisely 6:30 a.m., Gabriel Morgan was escorted into the boardroom by security. He looked terrible, unshaven, bloodshot eyes, hands trembling slightly. He stopped short at the sight of Russell. "So it's really true," he said hoarsely. "You're back from the dead." "I was never dead, Gabriel," Russell replied evenly. "Just watching, learning the full extent of the betrayal." Gabriel sank into the nearest chair. "Vanessa? Derek? Arrested? As you knew they would be. And me?" Gabriel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is that why I'm here? For my arrest?" Russell studied his brother for a long moment. "That depends on you." He placed a folder on the table and slid it toward Gabriel. "Inside is evidence of your embezzlement from Apex. Your conspiracy with Derek to manipulate company records. Your relationship with Vanessa. Everything." Gabriel didn't touch the folder. "So I'm finished." "Not necessarily," Russell said. "You have a choice." "A choice?" Gabriel gave a hollow laugh. "What choice?" "Option 1. I hand this folder to the FBI agents waiting downstairs. You join Derek and Vanessa in federal custody, facing multiple felony charges. Your career, reputation, and freedom gone." Gabriel swallowed hard. "And option 2. You sign a full confession, naming Derek as the primary architect of the financial crimes. You resign from Apex immediately. You transfer all your company shares to a charity of my choosing. You leave New York tonight and never contact me, Vanessa, or anyone connected to Apex again." "Exile," Gabriel said flatly. "Freedom," Russell corrected. "More than you deserve, but I'm offering it nonetheless." "Why?" Gabriel asked, looking genuinely confused. "After what I did, why offer me any way out?" Russell's expression remained impassive. "Because despite everything, you did one thing right. When Vanessa moved from wishing me gone to planning my murder, you drew a line. You warned me. I betrayed you with your wife," Gabriel whispered. "I helped undermine your company. I lied to your face for months. And you're offering me a second chance because of one moment of conscience." "No," Russell replied coldly. "I'm offering you a way out because it serves my purposes. Your confession implicating Derek strengthens the case against him. Your disappearance from New York removes a painful reminder of betrayal. This isn't mercy, Gabriel. It's calculation." Gabriel stared at the table for a long moment before looking up with tears in his eyes. "I've spent my whole life in your shadow, Russ. Competing with you, resenting you, wanting what you had. And now I'd give anything to go back and undo it all." "That's not an option," Russell said flatly. "Choose, Gabriel. Prison or exile." Wordlessly, Gabriel opened the folder and signed the confession on the last page. "I'll be gone by tonight," he said, standing. Will I ever see you again?" "No," Russell replied without hesitation. Gabriel nodded, accepting this finality. At the door, He paused and turned back. For what it's worth, Russ, I am sorry. So am I, Russell said quietly as the door closed behind his brother. Lisa, who had observed the exchange silently, approached. Are you sure about letting him go? After everything he did, he'll punish himself more effectively than any prison could, Russell replied. In this way, his testimony against Derek and Vanessa remains voluntary, more credible to a jury. By 7 a.m., the boardroom had filled with Apex's directors, men and women visibly shocked by Russell's reappearance and the overnight arrest of the company's interim CEO and the founder's wife. Russell stood at the head of the table, commanding the room with his presence. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on such short notice. As you can see, reports of my demise were greatly exaggerated. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. You've all received files detailing the events of the past 6 months, the conspiracy to undermine Apex, the financial crimes committed by Derek Powell, and my own covert investigation conducted from Argentina. I'm prepared to answer your questions, but first, let me be clear about the path forward. For the next hour, Russell outlined his plan to stabilize the company, address the legal challenges ahead, and reassure clients and shareholders. The board, initially stunned, quickly rallied behind him, their relief at his return overshadowing any concerns about his unorthodox methods. As the meeting concluded, the company's senior counsel approached Russell privately. The DA wants a statement from you regarding Mrs. Morgan and Mr. Powell, she said quietly. And there's the matter of personal considerations. My statement is prepared, Russell assured her. As for personal matters, I've already filed for divorce on grounds of conspiracy to commit murder. I don't anticipate complications. And the press? They're already gathering downstairs. I'll address them at noon, Russell said confidently. A simple statement. I discovered a plot against my life, went into hiding to gather evidence, and returned to ensure justice. No details about the personal betrayals. By midday, as promised, Russell stood before a forest of microphones in Apex's lobby, cameras flashing as he delivered his carefully crafted statement. He projected strength, calm, and control, a man who had faced betrayal and emerged victorious. What none of the reporters, board members, or employees could see was the hollow feeling behind Russell's triumph. He had won completely, had destroyed those who betrayed him, had reclaimed his company and his life. But the victory tasted of ashes. That evening, alone in the penthouse safe house, Russell watched news coverage of his spectacular return. The business channels praised his strategic genius. Crime reporters detailed the arrests of Vanessa, Derek, and the Russian hitman. Financial analysts predicted Apex's stock would soar when markets opened the next day. A perfect execution of a flawless plan. Everything Russell had intended down to the last detail. So why did he feel nothing? His phone rang, Lisa Wilson, reporting that Gabriel had boarded a flight to Seattle, as instructed. Vanessa's lawyer had requested a meeting, which Russell had declined. Derek Powell was cooperating with authorities, providing evidence against Vanessa in exchange for leniency. All loose ends tied up, Lisa concluded. What's our next move? Russell stared out at the New York skyline, the city lights blurring in the darkness. I don't know, he admitted finally. For the first time in his life, Russell Morgan had no plan. Chapter 9, Aftermath. 1 year later, Russell stood on the observation deck of Torres del Paine National Park in Chilean Patagonia, the vast wilderness stretching before him, majestic and indifferent to human concerns. The wind whipped at his jacket as he gazed out at the granite peaks, their tops dusted with snow despite the summer season. Beautiful, isn't it? Asked the woman beside him. Worth the hike. Worth every step, Russell agreed, glancing at Dr. Sofia Navarro, renowned psychologist, recent companion, and the first person since his return who seemed to see beyond the legend of Russell Morgan, the CEO who faked his own death to catch conspirators. Are you going to tell me what's on your mind, or should I guess? Sophia asked, her dark eyes studying him with professional interest and personal concern. Russell smiled faintly, just thinking about anniversaries. It's been exactly 1 year since the trial ended. The trial had been sensational, front-page news for weeks. Vanessa and Derek, facing charges ranging from conspiracy to financial fraud, had turned on each other almost immediately. Vanessa claimed Derek had manipulated her, playing on her unhappiness to draw her into a plot she never intended to execute. Derek insisted Vanessa had been the mastermind, using her emotional hold over him and Gabriel to undermine Apex and eliminate Russell. In the end, the evidence Russell had meticulously gathered spoke for itself. Vanessa received 12 years for conspiracy to commit murder and financial crimes. Derek got 8 years for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Pamela Davis, Vanessa's sister, received 3 years probation for her knowledge of the plot. Gabriel had disappeared into obscurity in the Pacific Northwest, his testimony delivered by deposition, his name fading from public memory. "Do you regret how it ended?" Sophia asked. It was a question she'd posed before, in different ways, during their 3 months together. "No," Russell said, his voice firm. "They made their choices. They faced the consequences." "That's not what I meant," Sophia said gently. "Do you regret winning so completely that there was nothing left afterward?" Russell turned to face her, appreciating her directness. She never tiptoed around difficult subjects. One of the qualities that had drawn him to her when they met at a cybersecurity conference where she was speaking about the psychology of betrayal. "I had a plan for the betrayal," Russell admitted. "I had a plan for the revenge. I didn't have a plan for the aftermath." Thus the wandering. Sophia gestured to the wilderness around them. 6 months ago, you were running Apex, the most successful security firm in the country. Now you're hiking through Patagonia with a psychologist you barely know. "I know you better than you think," Russell countered with a small smile. It was true. After the trial, after the media frenzy had died down, Russell had found himself increasingly restless. Apex was thriving under his leadership. The company had emerged from the scandal stronger than ever, its reputation for integrity ironically enhanced by Russell's dramatic exposure of internal corruption. But the victory felt hollow. The company boardroom, once his domain, now felt like a stage set. The Westchester house, purged of Vanessa's presence, remained empty. Russell couldn't bring himself to live there again. So he had done something unprecedented. He had stepped back, not retired, not resigned, but delegated, appointing Lisa Wilson as chief operating officer, reducing his own role to strategic oversight, and giving himself the freedom to travel. For 6 months, he had wandered, from Patagonia to Peru, from the Galapagos to Easter Island. Along the way, he had encountered Sofia Navarro 3 times, first at the conference, then at a remote lodge in the Amazon, and finally in Santiago, where coincidence had given way to intention. "You're avoiding my question," Sophia observed, bringing him back to the present. "About winning so completely that nothing was left." Russell sighed, looking back out at the mountains. "When I was planning my revenge, I thought justice would bring closure. That once Vanessa, Derek, and Gabriel had paid for their betrayal, I could move forward. But I discovered that revenge is like salt water," Russell said quietly. "The more you drink, the thirstier you become." Sophia nodded, her expression thoughtful. "So what now? More wandering? More mountains to climb?" "No," Russell said with sudden certainty. "I think I'm done running." "Running?" Sophia raised an eyebrow. "I thought you were the one who stayed and fought while everyone else tried to run." "Different kind of running," Russell explained. "Running from what comes after the fight. From rebuilding something new instead of avenging what was lost." They began walking back toward the trail, the wind at their backs now, pushing them forward. "I received an offer yesterday," Russell said after a while, "from the Justice Department. They want Apex to develop a new cybersecurity framework for protecting critical financial infrastructure. It will mean moving to Washington for a year, building a new team." "Sounds like an opportunity," Sophia remarked. "Are you going to take it?" "I'm considering it," Russell replied. "It would mean creating something instead of just protecting what already exists." "And what about personal rebuilding?" Sophia asked carefully. "You've barely mentioned that part of your life since we met." Russell stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "I trusted completely once. It nearly destroyed me. And yet here you are, hiking with a woman you've known for 3 months, discussing your deepest thoughts, Sophia pointed out. That suggests some capacity for trust remains. Limited trust, Russell qualified. Professional respect. Is that all? Sophia challenged, meeting his gaze directly. Russell considered her question seriously. Sophia Navarro was unlike anyone he'd ever known. Brilliant, forthright, unimpressed by his wealth or reputation. Their conversations over the past months had challenged him intellectually and emotionally. She had never asked about his marriage or divorce, had never sensationalized his story, had treated him as a man rather than a legend. No, he admitted finally. That's not all. Sophia smiled. Good, because I've accepted a visiting professorship at Georgetown for the next academic year. Washington would put us in the same city. You accepted before knowing if I would take the Justice Department offer? Russell asked, surprised. I made my decision independently of yours, Sophia clarified. But I won't pretend I would be disappointed if our paths continue to cross. As they resumed walking, Russell felt something he hadn't experienced since before Vanessa's betrayal. Possibility. Not certainty, not control, but the potential for something unplanned and genuine. By the time they reached the base of the trail, Russell had made his decision. He would accept the Justice Department offer. He would move to Washington. He would see where this connection with Sophia might lead. Not because it was part of a master plan, but precisely because it wasn't. 6 months later, Russell stood in his Georgetown townhouse, reviewing security protocols for the Federal Reserve's new digital banking platform on his tablet. Outside, snow fell softly on the Capitol, the winter evening peaceful and quiet. His phone buzzed with a notification from Apex's secure messaging system. Lisa Wilson, providing her weekly update from New York headquarters. Bloomberg reporting Vanessa's appeal denied. Sentence stands. Also, intelligence suggests Gabriel has left the country. Facial recognition caught him boarding a flight to Australia last week. Russell acknowledged the message without emotion. Vanessa's legal maneuvers had become background noise, desperate attempts to reduce her sentence that courts consistently rejected. As for Gabriel, Russell had long ago stopped tracking his movements. Australia was as good a place as any for his brother's exile. The front door opened, bringing a swirl of snowflakes and Sophia's voice. If this keeps up, they'll close the university tomorrow, she called from the entryway. Would that be so terrible? Russell asked, setting aside his tablet. A day of forced rest. Sophia appeared in the doorway, snow melting in her dark hair, her cheeks flushed from the cold. For a workaholic like you, it might be exactly what the doctor ordered. She crossed him, examining the tablet he'd set down. Federal Reserve again? I thought that project was nearly complete. The framework is, Russell confirmed. But implementation never ends. Security is ongoing vigilance. Speaking of vigilance, Sophia said, her tone shifting slightly, there was a reporter waiting outside my office today, asking about you, about us. Russell frowned. Which publication? She said Vanity Fair, working on a retrospective about the case of the vanishing CEO, as she called it. It's been 18 months, Russell said with irritation. Don't they have fresh scandals to cover? Apparently your story has enduring appeal, Sophia quoted with a slight smile. I told her I don't discuss my personal life. Thank you, Russell said sincerely. Their relationship had remained private, not secret, but personal, protected from the media circus that still occasionally surrounded Russell's name. She did say something interesting, though, Sophia added, watching Russell carefully. She claimed to have interviewed Gabriel recently. Russell stilled. Did she elaborate? Only that he's writing a memoir about growing up in your shadow, about the conspiracy, about his regrets. Sophia studied his reaction. Does that bother you? Russell considered the question honestly. A year ago, even 6 months ago, the idea of Gabriel profiting from his betrayal would have infuriated him. Now, he found himself surprisingly indifferent. No, he realized aloud. Gabriel's story is his to tell. Mine is mine. Sophia nodded approvingly. That's growth, you know, being able to let go of controlling the narrative. Or maybe I've just found better things to focus on, Russell suggested, moving closer to her. Later that evening, as they shared dinner in the kitchen, Sophia raised a subject they'd circled for weeks. The Georgetown position ends in 3 months, she reminded him. I've had offers from Stanford and Columbia. Both excellent institutions, Russell noted, watching her carefully. Have you decided? That depends, Sophia said directly. The Justice Department project concludes around the same time. What are your plans? Russell set down his wine glass. Apex still needs leadership. Lisa has done an excellent job as COO, but eventually you need to decide if you're moving forward or backward, Sophia interrupted gently. Going back to Apex full-time would be returning to your old life. Not entirely, Russell disagreed. I'm not the same man who left. No, Sophia acknowledged. You're not. But is Apex what you want now? Or is it just the path of least resistance? It was a question Russell had been asking himself with increasing frequency. The Justice Department work had rekindled something in him. The satisfaction of building systems that protected people rather than just hunting threats. He had found unexpected fulfillment in mentoring the young team he'd assembled, in creating rather than avenging. I've been considering starting something new, he admitted. A foundation focused on cybersecurity education, helping small businesses and vulnerable populations protect themselves, using what I've learned for prevention rather than reaction. Sophia's face brightened. You haven't mentioned this before. It's been percolating, Russell explained. The idea of building something with a different purpose than Apex. Something that looks forward rather than backward, Sophia suggested. Exactly. And where would this foundation be based? She asked carefully. Russell smiled. That's flexible. San Francisco has a strong tech community. New York has financial connections. But personally, I've grown rather fond of Stanford's campus on my visits there. Sophia's expression softened with understanding. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying